Sometimes the moment you stop chasing is the moment everything shifts. The moment you let go, you reclaim something far greater than her attention. You reclaim yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Have you ever poured your whole heart into someone, showing up, forgiving, trying again, only to feel her slowly pull away? Most men think the answer is to try harder, to prove their worth. But the truth is, when you stop needing her, everything changes. There was a time when she could predict your every move. She knew you'd reach out, check in, and fill the silence, even when she created it. That gave her comfort and control. But then something shifted. You stopped reacting. You stopped rushing in. It's not to punish her, but because you outgrew the chase. It's like a Stoic. You turned inward, protecting your peace instead of fighting for someone who didn't value it. Now her expectations are met with calm stillness, no bitterness, no drama, just the quiet certainty of a man who knows his worth. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Letting go without resentment, that is courage." Your absence now speaks louder than words. She's starting to see what she overlooked: your patience, loyalty, and forgiveness. Were never guaranteed. They were choices, and you're no longer making those choices for someone who treated them as endless. A man grounded in self-respect doesn't repeat cycles just because they're familiar. You've taken back your energy, and that's where your power lies. She thought she had time. She thought she had your patience forever. But when she sees you're no longer waiting, something in her begins to unravel. This is not about playing games. It's about transformation. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." You've embodied it in your silence, discipline, and refusal to negotiate with uncertainty. You've stopped investing in confusion and started investing in clarity, your own. Ironically, that's when she feels the pull. She returned not to the man she left, but to the man she never thought you'd become. The one who no longer seeks her validation. The one who found peace in letting go. The one whose silence doesn't beg, but speaks. When a man who was once always there becomes still, the silence grows heavy. At first, she may shrug it off, telling herself, "You're just taking space." But as days turn into weeks with no word from you, the weight begins to sink in. It's not just silence, it's the message behind it. You're no longer emotionally available. She once felt your presence even in distance because she believed she still had a hold on your heart, that you would return, like always. This time, you didn't. No more checking in, no subtle signs you were waiting. The man who filled the quiet with effort, apologies, and hope now fills it with calm, purpose, and dignity. Seneca wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." In your case, living without her validation and letting go without resentment is the greatest courage. Not out of bitterness, but because you've learned peace is not something given, it's something you choose when you stop chasing what drains you. Think about it. How many times did you break your own heart to keep her comfortable? How often did you send that last message, hoping it would fix what she never cared? To repair, now there are no final messages, no emotional crumbs. You're not punishing her with silence. You're protecting yourself. You're no longer part of a cycle that wore you down. This absence, wrapped in self-respect, now echoes in ways she never expected. She'll return when you no longer want her, not because of manipulation, but because your silence carries the authority of a man who has outgrown what once hurt him. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. And now she feels that strength, a shift from dependence to independence, from waiting to walking forward. There was a time when she could push your buttons and predict your reaction. You were quick to comfort, quick to chase, quick to forgive. She knew your patterns, the late-night replies, the way her distance pulled you closer. But that version of you no longer exists. Now, your emotional energy is unreadable. You don't rise to the bait, and you don't rush to fix what isn't yours to repair. Maybe she sends a vague message, tries to provoke a familiar response, but you stay grounded. You respond with stillness, not impulse. Epictetus taught, It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. But you've stopped reacting, you've started choosing. Or once you've lost sleep over a cold reply, now you see it for what it is, a test of control, not a sign of love. This shift isn't revenge, it's transformation. You've learned that a man in control of himself cannot be controlled by another. She comes looking for the man who bent to her moods and finds someone she no longer knows, and that unsettles her. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength is your calm, your boundaries, your refusal to play the old game. The more she tries to reach the old you, the more she realizes he's gone. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. And when that happens, the power shifts. She will return not to the man who needed her, but to the man who outgrew her hold. And by then, your silence will speak louder than any words. She remembers the man you used to be, the one who would answer her text at midnight, no matter how cold she'd been earlier. The one who excused mixed signals because he wanted to believe in the best version of her. The one who thought love alone could fix what respect never built. That man is gone. You didn't change out of spite, you changed out of necessity. The old you was driven by fear. Fear of losing her, fear of not being enough, fear that walking away meant failure. But growth changed everything. You faced the silence, the pain, and rebuilt your standards from the ground up. Now, you no longer chase affection that disappears when it's inconvenient. You're not apologizing for expecting clarity. Refuse to settle for being almost enough in someone else's story. You want alignment, peace, and truth, and you're willing to walk away to protect them. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Got it. Without needing to announce it, you filled the space she left. With purpose and discipline, you became unshakable, not by talking about change, but by living it. She senses the difference, even if she can't put it into words. She looks for the man who once waited by his phone, but he's not there anymore. Not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually. That absence isn't punishment. It's transformation. So if she returns, and she probably will, it won't be to the man she left. It will be to a man who no longer waits, no longer entertains. What once drained him, a man whose silence speaks of self-worth, not pride. She'll find a man who now values peace more than her attention. When you were emotionally attached, your energy told the whole story. You were available, present, always ready to fix things, even when it wasn't your responsibility. You responded quickly, over-explained, reassured her, even as she pulled away. Your presence was an open door she could walk through any time. Now you move differently. You respond slower, not from pettiness, but from clarity. You no longer hand out your attention as if it's owed. You protect your peace as something sacred because it is. And that shift she didn't expect. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. You realize this, and you will find strength." You've stopped trying to manage her moods and started mastering your own. Your presence is no longer predictable. It's purposeful. This isn't coldness. It's the wisdom that comes from knowing the cost of pouring into someone who only offered half a cup in return.
Oh.
You didn't slam doors or announce your growth. You simply lived it. Like a true Stoic, you understood that strength is quiet, consistent, and self-directed. Now, she doesn't recognize this version of you, the man who smiles without needing her response, who lives without depending on her presence. And that version, the one grounded in peace rather than pursuit, will be the one she remembers when you're no longer looking back. It often starts small, a story view, a like on an old photo, a vague message saying, "This reminded me of you." She's not fully back, just hovering, testing the waters. She wants to know if the door is still open, if she can still reach you like before. But you're no longer that man, the one who jumped at crumbs, who read too much into half-hearted gestures. Back then, her smallest action could brighten your day. Now, you've learned that interest without intention is nothing but noise, and you no longer entertain noise. Epictetus taught, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. You've taken this to heart. You don't react to breadcrumbs. You reflect. You don't chase. You evaluate. Your response, or lack of one, now comes from principle, not impulse. She might expect you to reply instantly, to signal you're still waiting. But when her digital breadcrumb sits unanswered, the shift hits her. She realizes the man who once clung to every interaction now protects his energy as something sacred. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And now, your thoughts are no longer consumed by her return. She may test the waters again, but this time, she'll find a man who has already moved past the need for her approval. She may come back thinking it's time to finally talk, to explain, to tie up the loose ends she left behind. But you no longer need her words. You've built closure within yourself. Stoicism teaches us that peace is internal. You don't need one more apology, one more explanation, or one last conversation. You've already turned the page. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. And your strength came. The moment you stopped seeking clarity from someone who brought only confusion, perhaps she expected you to still be hurt, still craving answers. But now, she finds a man who's moved on, not from bitterness, but from understanding. A man who no longer waits for someone else to decide when he can heal. Epictetus reminded us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Her choices, her silence, her return, all beyond you. What's within you is your peace, your discipline, your refusal to reopen a chapter you've already closed. When she reaches out, thinking she's offering closure, she'll discover the truth. You've already given it to yourself. And the silence she hears will be the clearest answer she never expected. Time has a way of reshaping memories, especially when regret begins to whisper. She starts to remember you differently, not as the man she left behind, but as the man who always showed up. The texts you sent now feel like proof that someone truly cared. The way you listened seems rare. Your presence, once taken for granted, now feels irreplaceable. But her nostalgia is selective. She forgets the way she pulled back without explanation. The times you gave more than you received, the confusion she left you in when loyalty was treated like an option. Those wounds fade in her mind, but you remember both the warmth and the pain. A Stoic man doesn't let longing distort reality. He holds the past gently but firmly, grateful for lessons, but unmoved by illusions. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life, as won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Her choices, her silence, her return, all beyond you. You've stopped replaying the fantasy. You no longer crave the version of her that only existed in your hopes. Now, you choose peace over possibility. So when she reappears, painting the past in gold, you see it for what it was, a mix of light and shadow. And no amount of memory will tempt you back into emotional captivity. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Your silence becomes a mirror, forcing her to face her own actions. She begins to replay words she said, choices she made, not because you reminded her, but because your absence did. You're not punishing her. You're simply no longer rescuing her from reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." Same is true for regret, confusion, and realization. Once, you were the man who explained, reassured, and fixed things even when you were the one hurt. That man no longer leads. In his place stands someone who understands himself and no longer seeks validation from her. Your silence speaks of self-respect, not pride. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You've chosen stillness. You no longer correct her perception or try to change her mind. Reality is speaking for itself, and it's louder than any defense you could give. She may have once thought your patience was endless, that your heart was always accessible. But your stillness shattered that illusion. Now, she's left staring at a reflection she can't ignore, the image of a man who no longer revolves around her approval. Now, your peace is sacred. Your energy is not given, it's earned. You no longer allow access based on history alone. Once your standards were flexible, you forgave too quickly, accepted too little, and confused patience with permission. That era is over. She may return with nostalgia, bringing up the good times and hoping to reopen a door she once closed. But the man standing here now is not the man she left. The old you might have welcomed her without hesitation, thinking love was enough. The new you measures her presence by how well it aligns with your present. Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." You know who you are now, and you no longer bend your standards to fit someone's return. You ask, does this align with my peace, my values? If the answer is no, you walk away without regret. Marcus Aurelius taught, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Your boundaries now protect what you've built. You no longer see your return as a victory, but as a test. One you have no need to pass. When she finally reaches out, breaking the silence she once chose, she'll find a man who no longer needs her return. Not because he stopped caring, but because he started caring for himself more. You've done the work, sat with the ache, faced the confusion, and filled the void not with distractions, but with purpose. The gym became your temple. Books became your mentors. Peace became your standard. Now when her name appears on your screen, it doesn't change your world, because your world no longer revolves around her. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Your thoughts are now centered on growth, discipline, and clarity, not on someone who once left you uncertain. Maybe she returns with tears and words of regret. Once, you would have dropped everything to hold her again, but not this time. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You've built boundaries, not walls, and those boundaries protect the life you've created. You didn't move on to prove a point. You moved on because staying would have cost you your peace. She may return, but the version of you she knew is gone. And now she faces a man who no longer looks back.